Welcome back. We've got more now on the CBC exclusive story Greg Weston brought us earlier, that top secret operation targeting the Wi-Fi service at a major Canadian airport. It was launched by the Communications Security Establishment Canada, Canada's electronic spy agency, and CSEC as it's known, along with the government, say no Canadian communications were targeted. But was CSEC's operation a violation of privacy? Did it break Canadian law? Joining me now from Vancouver is Kaylee DePuma, counsel for the BC Civil Liberties Association, with her take. Good to see you. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Some might think that these things are shocking, that this is shocking, but CSEC says, listen, we were looking at metadata. We weren't looking at anyone's private communications, private emails, and from that perspective, we're allowed to sort of track movement. What's your thoughts?
We say that's absolutely unreasonable. It's an unacceptable intrusion into Canadians' privacy rights and their ability to express themselves freely. What we're talking about here is dragnet surveillance of anyone, anytime, anywhere, and we say it's unconstitutional and contrary to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
But how does it violate their privacy in terms of communication? Because they didn't, if you believe them, I guess, they didn't pick up anything that was being said. What they did was track where you went from the airport, whether you went to a hotel or a cafe. And in the documents, which I'm sure you've seen, and if people want to look at them, they're on our website, they actually use the example of trying to find someone who's kidnapped, a child or something. And this is a way for them to sort of target where that person has gone.
We say that metadata is private information about Canadians. It can tell the government all sorts of intimate details about our personal life, our relationships with other people, our movements, our political affiliations, our religious choices, even our sexual orientation. This is private information collected over time that gives a profile of an individual, and that is contrary to Section 8 of the Charter, and it ultimately causes Canadians to begin to censor themselves in what would be ordinary speech day to day, and it should be found to be unconstitutional.
So do you not think that a spy agency, though, has the right to track individuals so that they can prevent terrorism, prevent crime, those kinds of things?
Well, absolutely. If there's targeted efforts based on a particular individual, you could see that those would be more justifiable in certain circumstances. Here, though, what we have is a concrete example of dragnet surveillance, where they create a haystack where all of our personal information is thrown into a database, and they just get to decide whether or not there's something of use for it down the road in the future. But what it ultimately means is that our government is tracking us like the police tail a suspect, and in ordinary circumstances they would need a judicial warrant to do that, and here they're doing it with no authorization at all.
According to these documents, this was, I guess, a 2-week trial that they did from some major airport that's not identified. Do you think that this is something more systematic, or do you think that this was just CSEC testing out their capabilities?
This is just one example of CSEC's metadata collection. We know that the Minister of National Defence first issued a directive authorizing CSEC to collect metadata information back in 2005. They issued it again in 2011. Clearly, there are more programs of this type. This is just the first real concrete example that we have, and it shows the Canadian people exactly what this could mean for our personal liberties.
You have filed a lawsuit against the government regarding CSEC and the collection of data. Where is that at? Where would you expect it to be? Because one of the problems with CSEC is we don't really know all the details of what they're doing. The only reason we know this is because Edward Snowden leaked documents from the United States. So, you know, how do you proceed in a lawsuit against CSEC if you don't really know what's happening?
It is difficult. The government has filed a response to our lawsuit earlier this month, and as we understand it, we're starting the documentary discovery process, and we expect that the government will assert national security privilege over much of the evidence that the court needs to hear this dispute, and we hope that the court will decide to have an open airing of this issue and will decide in our favor as we move forward.
Kaylee DePuma, thank you very much. Appreciate your perspective on this important story.
Thank you.
That's Kaylee DePuma of the BC Civil Liberties Association.